thank you, Natasha, for joining me today. And I will repeat this at the end, but I know Natasha's got something new to share, something, well, it's something you haven't shared so fully, is it? And it's a lot. It's an awful lot. So what we're going to do today is, this is part 1. And we will return with part 2, part 3, however many parts, in order for all of this information to be received by us in the way Natasha wants to share it. And it's important, I believe, to honor what is so important to any one of us, that we have that space and time to really share our hearts. That's what we're here for. This is us doing life together. And you know, what's more beautiful than that? So Natasha, I'm going to hand over to you. And where are we going to start?
Thank you so much, Jill. And you almost moved me to tears when you said that now. So give me a breath.
Oh, sorry.
No, sorry, it's beautiful. You have such a heart, and I just love being here. So yes, so I do have a lot to share, because it truly is very important to me. And you know, I thought I want to share a little bit about my own story with the ocean and water consciousness, and how I got into all of that, so we can better understand maybe where I'm coming from, and also for those who haven't met me yet, you get a bit of my story. But also go ahead.
DJ is with us, so
Who's with us?
DJ, she's watching.
Oh, beautiful. Hi, DJ. And so my love for the ocean, actually, I can't say when it started, because all I know since I was a child is that I love the sea and the ocean. Like, I would live from year to year to go on summer holidays that we spent by the sea. Unfortunately, I grew up in a landlocked country in Switzerland, so I couldn't truly live it all year long. But like, from holiday to holiday, or in another form of water, I love the snow as well. It's also water, right?
And what about the lakes?
Yes, we lived, but when I was a child, we didn't live that close to a lake. That, for me as a child, it wasn't close, right? Because I couldn't just walk there, right? Of course, by car, it would have taken you 5 minutes, but I was a child, right? So at the age of 5, I couldn't just go to the lake, right? And so, but I loved the ocean more than anything. And I remember my parents were divers. And so I just loved watching when they would show their, you know, they had these, we call them diapositive, I don't know in English, but you know, the projectors where you had these little images.
Yeah, little transparencies, weren't they?
And yes, and then you had the light and you would project it to the wall or to the screen.
Yeah.
Yes, and they would show these underwater images, and I just loved that. So for me, there was whales, dolphins, and sea. That was what I wanted. And interesting, you know, today that I am sharing ocean light language, that I'm working with people through the codes of ocean light, I would never have thought. And I remember even as a child, I thought like, well, I love whales and dolphins, but what am I going to do with this, right? Like it's not something I knew. It's not being a baker or being a hairdresser or being a doctor. It's like, I love whales and dolphins. And so to cut this long story a bit shorter, after I finished university, which I did something completely different, I went into that rational thinking of I need to have a job, I can do it everywhere internationally, so I could live by the sea. That was the thought behind it. I finished economy and ecology, and that was business administration. And I went to the Red Sea to become a diving instructor. And I had the 3 most wonderful years in my life. And when I was there, I have witnessed so much healing happening through me working or others working in the ocean with people, like in the Red Sea at that point. So it's not ocean, it's the Red Sea. And it happened that, for instance, we had this one diving instructor, and he was really like, you would say that choleric type, right? He could get really angry and upset, and he would shout it out, and he would even go with a customer and go like being really in a bad mood. We would look at him like, hey, are you okay? And he'd like, leave me alone. And he'd go into the water, and they would dive for half an hour, and they would come out like blissed out. Like he would be singing and going like a real gentleman, can I help you and carry that for you, to his customer? And I was like, whoa, right? And I witnessed that so many times. And I witnessed also, I was leading diving safaris, and I had this person, for instance, he had post-traumatic stress disorder from the war. And we were talking late night, and I told him like, I'll leave you now because we have an early morning dive. And I leave you and I will see you tomorrow morning because we have to get up early. And he's like, oh, don't worry about me. I don't sleep longer than 1.5 hours usually. And sometimes I can fall asleep again, but I can't sleep longer than 1.5 hours in a row anyway. I hardly sleep. It's from the war. I have PTSD. And I'm like, oh, so sorry to hear that. But you know what? You will sleep. And I don't know where I took that wisdom from. I just told him, you will sleep. I know what the ocean does. I know what the sea can do. And I went to sleep. And next morning he goes like, what did you do to me? I said like, why? What did I do to you? I didn't do anything. I didn't know what he was talking about. And he said, you know, for the first time in my life since I had that trauma, I slept for, I don't know if he said 4 or 6 hours or something. Like for him, it was a huge amount of time. And he said, what did you do? And I said, nothing. It's the sea. I just knew that. And so there were many stories around people just changing or just becoming more relaxed or anything when they were with me by the ocean. And I wanted to learn more, and I went back to Switzerland. And then I had the whole story of I became a business coach, a team and leadership coach, and I wasn't living by the sea. I went actually back to learn more about how can I, you know, bring that which I had experienced in leading these diving safaris, like consciously bringing people to nature and to the sea. So I dove into energy psychology and did my NLP master and this and that. And then I started working, and I never forgot that dream, but I didn't live it until I had my dark night of the soul, where everything just, my whole life just broke apart the way I knew it. And then through that healing, and I became a single mom, and through all that healing, I opened my heart again, and I noticed, oh my God, I didn't follow that heart anymore. I didn't follow that which was really deeply important to me. I gave it up because I thought like relationship is more important than me living by the sea or, you know, bringing people to the sea. And I had tried in relationships, but the men weren't into that. They had their own life, and I just gave it up, right? And so I was like, wow, actually, I need to go back to that. That's why I don't feel good. That's why everything is happening. That's why my health was like deteriorating. And I started following that again. And in that, I became more healthy. I also had an awakening experience where I started speaking the light language that I speak today, which is ocean light language. And I received that. It's ocean light language. And I think I shared that a few times already. You might have heard that before, but it's really strange when you get that you're speaking ocean light language and nobody in the whole world that I can find, even through social media or YouTube or anywhere, talks even about ocean light language, right? You can find Pleiadian or Arcturian and Atlantean and all of that, but no ocean light language. And so I had to find my bearings with that. And that's also where a lot of my research came in again, like, is it possible that the ocean has consciousness? Does water have consciousness? Why do I speak ocean light language? What is that? And then I had another dream, and I would wake up from it absolutely, you know, when you have these dreams that are like, they're so real and you feel it in every cell of your body. And I remember I'm waking up and I'm in this light. There's just only light. And I hear the words very clearly, the ocean is the light. It was literally, the ocean is the light. I was like, wow. And, you know, each time I would say the ocean is the light, everything shifted in my body. Like my cells started vibrating and I'm like, the ocean is the light, and my heart would open. And then I had another experience where I was in meditation and there were these beautiful beings that came around me, and they were standing as if, you know, like the directions, the east, the south, the west, the north, like everyone, one in one direction, 4 beings around me, and I'm in the middle standing in the water. And the sense, the knowing, the sense, how you ever want to call it, because I didn't hear the words, was they are the council of ocean light. And they tell me, you're going to bring the codes of ocean light to humanity. They told me, you're here to bring through the messages of the whales and the dolphins. And I'm getting like, I gotta take a breath with this when I think of it even. And there was so much love. And they also told me that I was the ocean, which later I made sense of it, like kind of, you know, we're all one. And I incarnated as part of me as ocean consciousness. That's why I can bring it through. Wow. And so with all of that, I started working with that with people, and I saw beautiful, you know, healing and activations and things happening where I could really make sense only after a while that what I'm doing is actually bringing unconscious things to light and transmuting it into love and light, and also opening new potentials like activating DNA. And so we can live our highest expression. But then I still needed, my mind needed some connection to what am I actually doing? Does that even make sense? Am I inventing this? Because I knew it was true. I knew I didn't invent it in a way, but not only in a way, I really knew that deep inside. But I had a very critical mind, and my mind just wanted to learn more. So I went into research. Yeah. Sorry.
You questioned.
Yes, I started questioning. I'm like, well.
And can I just say something? I think when we question that, it's not a bad thing, because it just leads us to get more curious and to explore more, which means we actually expand that.
Yeah. Yes. And that's really what happened for me. So it wasn't the questioning as to doubting it. I remember I was in that place of how can I even share that, because it sounds so strange. And I remember we had a session, Jill, and you led me through that and helped me with that, really telling me like, hey, trust that which you hear. And with that, I could question it, just as you're saying, like exploring with curiosity. And then everything also starts coming in when we can do that, right? And so it did. And today I want to start sharing about all that connection between the spiritual part and the research that I found that brings this whole together in a way and helps us on our journey of awakening, and also embodying, really bringing that down to earth. And the medium is water. It really is water. And I will explain. I will start now.
Okay.
Bringing with that. Okay. So we have all heard of water having memory, right?
Yeah.
Because we've heard, probably everybody has heard of Masaru Emoto, who made these beautiful images of frozen water when he would like put the intention of love or gratitude, and then some less beautiful intentions, and the water would shift, right? It would have crystals or not. So now what another scientist called Gerald Pollack has done research, and there's been people before him, but he's became quite famous with that, is something that's called easy water, exclusion zone water. And so what he found is that water can form crystals. And one of the ways is when water is exposed to a membrane or a hydrophilic material, which is like a material that loves water. You have material repelling water, material loving water. So it's water loving material, kind of like a membrane, like a cell membrane. It starts changing. So water doesn't only have the phases of liquid and gas and ice. There's at least a fourth phase of water. And this fourth phase of water is when water crystals form in hexagonal shapes. And they form a liquid crystal, and they have a different charge. So that which is close to the membrane will have a negative charge, and that which is further away from the membrane will have a positive charge. Now, why that is important is that this water can store information in completely different ways. And that kind of water is the water in our cells. So the water in our cells is not the same water that you have in a glass, even though this is glass, so it's hydrophilic. And if I bless it, if I put it to sunlight, it will form exclusion zone water, at least around the surface and around the glass, right? But in the cells, because it's such a small scale, everything is structured water. So actually, they found out that in order to be healthy, we need structured water. When we cut ourselves, for instance, you will notice that blood does come out of the wound, but never water. But we are 70% water. Now, why is that? Because the structured water is a gel-like substance. It's more dense than water you find in your glass, in your cup, in wherever, but it's not completely solid, right? So it's somewhere in between. And sorry, I just needed to take a sip. And so that structured water, what it does is, what they found, and not through his work only, but other people like Nassim Haramein and his team and other people are really, researchers are finding that structured water in our cells is actually the water that coordinates the DNA to protein expression, the protein to protein expression. So our DNA expression, right? Our DNA creates proteins. Yeah. And it can do so only when it has structured water. That wouldn't work in non-structured water. And the thing is that in order for that to happen, and now we're going to the bigger scale, they found that water, when it's structured, not only it exchanges information throughout the whole body of water and instantaneously, so it's quantum information. It's like tunneling information. Like, you know what tunneling is? Tunneling is the ability to be in two places at the same time, or to, you would say like an electron can't go through my hand, but when it's tunneling in quantum physics, it can be there and here. There's a probability for both. So water can be tunneling, and it has so many what they called anomalies. I say like amazing properties. Yeah. And so water not only helps our cellular information exchange immediately. And we know that for our health, that is very, very crucial. Imagine 37 trillion cells having billions of chemical reactions, every single cell per second. That times 37 trillion. And that's only our own cells. That's not our microbiome, which is even more than our own cells, right? And that, they didn't know how that happens. Nobody can explain that. And now scientists are discovering that probably it's the structured water that works as an interface from the quantum field, bringing through the information from the quantum field and making it available in our biology, in our cells. So all of that, why does a seed become a plant? Why does a a sperm and an egg create a whole human being in our whole complexity. Nobody can explain that. Why do cells know what they need to do? Where's that consciousness that creates everything that this is out of our control, right? Like how these cells communicate, how it all is orchestrated in this amazing miracle of our body. And most probably it is the water in our cells, the structured water in our cells.
Can I ask you a quick
Yes, yes, please do.
Because I hope this doesn't take you off track.
No,
I've seen singing bowls with water in,
yes,
being played, and how the water creates patterns in the bowls. And I just had the thought, how would it affect us to have a singing bowl with water on, placed upon us, and then play?
yes. And it doesn't even it doesn't have to be placed upon us, it can. Here's the thing, structured water, how does it store information? How does it receive and give information? Because that's what water can do. If it's in its coherent, structured state, water can receive information and it can give information. And how water does that is through electromagnetic fields. So the frequency of a singing bowl creates sound waves and electromagnetic fields, right?
So with the water in the bowl, would that be even more powerful than the bowl on its own?
You mean to drink that water after it's been
no. Just to have, if you were having a sound bath, and I've seen where I think it was somebody in Tibet, and he was putting one of the, and they weren't the glass sound bowls, you know,
Tibetan sound bowls, yeah.
And he actually put it on somebody's head upside down, and he was tapping it in certain places and then moving it down our back, and he was using it on the body. And I just wondered if a bowl had water in it and then you had a sound bath with singing bowls with water in, would the frequency be even more amplified?
I don't know, honestly. My thoughts are, it probably would change the frequency when there's water inside, right? It might sound different, like when you have a glass of water and you fill it and then you play it, right? It will have different tones depending on how much water you have. But what I believe is, for sure, the water in the bowl will be informed through the frequency of the singing bowl. Now, here's what they found.
Can I, sorry, I've got something that's come through from DJ. She said,
yes,
2 comments. A spirit is very attached to water of all kinds, most especially lakes, wooded streams and waterfalls. Also, the more science delves into the miracles of life, the more they discover, and the more I see the Creator's hand at play. Oh, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Yes, that's beautiful. Yeah, it is.
Sorry, I interrupted you then.
Oh, that's okay. We have time.
Yes,
now we have time.
Yes, there's no rush.
But here's what they found. They found that it's not any frequency, you know, people put, I don't know, crystals into water or whatever, put one singing bowl and inform the water. That does structure water, but usually it won't stay stable.
Right.
And so what they found is that there's different people working on it. So some people have found that when we can bring the frequencies of the whole quantum field, so because that's a big range of frequencies, right? Or say creator, source, right? We connect with that, the quantum field. And if we could structure the water with those frequencies, which contain almost probably all that is, right? The consciousness, the collective consciousness, or source, or God, whatever name you want to use. And that's what I believe, that when I work through the ocean light codes, what I do is I connect through the ocean to all that is. And then I bring through that light language that will then be exactly that which the person needs. I don't know what that is. I can't choose like that note or that tone or any, that word or anything like that. It just flows through. And the other scientists have found, and that's really so beautiful, I find that they've done 14 years of research to find that one way to structure water, that it's really stable and coherent in this crystalline form. And what they found is it took a whole year, because water is made that it can take the sunlight and the moonlight and the different electromagnetic frequencies of the earth. So it takes a whole year of, however, the axis of the earth, where we're at in the cosmos and all of that, to actually bring all of that into the water, and then it stays stable. And the way they test that, whether it's stable or not, is that they influence it with human-made electromagnetic fields. So they would, I don't know, probably expose it to a router, to wireless LAN, to this, to that, right? And then if that water stays coherent, then it's really coherent. And if the crystalline structure falls apart again, it wouldn't be stable. And they found it took a whole year. So we actually have all it takes in nature. And that's why it's so important to protect the oceans and to protect the water. Like I'm saying oceans because oceans are 95% of all water that we have on our planet, right? And water is everywhere. Water is in the oceans. Water is in the air we breathe. Think about it. It's in every plant we eat. It's in every human, in every animal. It's like in every rock, even in the fire. You can't light a fire without a little bit of water in the wood. If it was totally dry, it wouldn't burn. And so it's like that life force expression. And if water and ocean can really bring through the frequencies of source, and they receive and transmit these, then I think we could, with the sound bath, create that water to be quite high in frequency. I don't know how long it's going to stay stable, but I do believe that the frequency, the sound bath that we're receiving and the light language that we can receive, they're actually working on the water within our own body.
Right.
And so I believe when we watch that water in the crystalline bowls, that we're like playing the crystalline bowls, it forms these beautiful cymatics, it's called, right? The pictures that you get, like the 3D, even, you know, waves and forms and beautiful sacred geometry that's showing what the water can express. I don't know how much it would amplify it or not. I can't really say that. This I really don't know.
You know what
But
came straight into my head then? Oh, do you know, I think it's gone. It was there, and now I think it's gone. It was something about a when you were saying about the symmetry and the sacred geometry that you see in the water when the crystalline bowl is played, it's like a solid vision of a story from the water.
yes, Yes. And you know what, Jill? Because that came in my mind just to share, and you're saying this now. This is so beautiful. There is a woman, and I forgot her name. I'm trying to research her and I can't find her anymore. She's a researcher through water photography. So similar like Masaru Emoto was doing, but different. And what she's doing is she's asking water questions and the water answers.
Right.
So she would ask the water, show me a picture of a dog. Or what is a dog? What does a dog look like? And then she will start freezing it, just similar like he did, but she's not in the completely frozen. Just when it starts freezing, she's taking pictures. And the water shows really distinguishable pictures of something that looks like a dog or something that will look like an alien. She asked like, what do aliens look like, or do they exist, or something like that, and the water showed her an alien. Like it was mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. And she's trying to prove that water has consciousness. She's going after that thesis, and for me it's absolutely clear that water has consciousness. And it's so interesting. And I saw these pictures and I was like, oh my God. And unfortunately I clicked away. It's like a few months ago, and I clicked away and I forgot her name. But I will find her. I know I'll find her again, and I will share more when I find it. But that's so amazing that she talks to the water and the water is literally answering her.
Mm.
And that's really what you're saying, like the history is in the water. And yes, you know, that was also one of the messages that I became. The Akashic records are in the water. They're in the oceans and the water of our planet. Now, here's the problem. Unfortunately, I need to say that word. I don't know how else to express it. Through the pollution that we have brought out, the electromagnetic fields that we have created, the water cannot give all the information that it can receive. So that transfer from the quantum field, from source, that knowingness of all that is and ever has been, can't be transmuted anymore, transported anymore, the more pollution there is. With electromagnetic fields, but also with toxins and glyphosate and all that stuff that we're bringing out. So that's also why it's so important that we, you know, that we become conscious of that. Mm. And like, there's down to earth things that we can do. Okay, even if we can't decide on, I don't know, how much of the ocean will be protected and all of that, but, or how much toxins are going to be used, we can sign petitions. We can not use sunscreen that is going to kill the reef. There is sunscreen that is reef friendly, that will not destroy the reefs and the marine life, that doesn't have the toxins. And by the way, it's also not having toxins for your own body. It goes into your own water just as much as it goes into the ocean. It's always, we're so connected. So it's all one.
Our biggest organ is our skin.
Sorry?
Our biggest organ is our skin.
Yes, exactly. And we can, you know, reduce the plastic. We can take our own plastic bags if you go to a market. Also on holidays, bring your Tupperware, so you don't get the takeaway and stuff you're going to throw away again, or whatever it is, you know, just we can organize ourselves to do these things. And if we all awaken to more of that consciousness of how important and sacred water and the oceans are, you know, every second breath we take is from the ocean. Mm. Oxygen on our planet, 50% comes from the oceans. So no ocean, no us. That's what Sylvia Earle says, and she's probably the most famous oceanographer and a beautiful lady. And so we can do that, but we can also dream another future. You know, we can consciously start creating by imagining the world whole, by imagining crystalline clear oceans and water, and a society that's deeply connected and to Mother Earth, to the waters, that is, you know, stewarding the oceans, that is, you know, respecting that sacredness of nature. And we can imagine that, how we're living together, how we're living with the world, with the waters, with the oceans. And as we're doing that, we start creating a field of consciousness. And the more of us do that, the more that field will grow. And once it's big enough, it will shift the reality. You know, it's like a friend of mine has a friend who lived in Berlin, right? And they were talking about, it was like 2.5 years ago, and they were talking about the situation in the world and what was going on. And she was saying, like, how come people don't get it? How don't they get what's going on? Why are they so da da da? And he said, like, look, it took so many years for the wall in Berlin to fall, right? But it couldn't until the consciousness had changed enough, and then it was obsolete. And it was not a big deal. We just marched on the streets and it was gone. But had we done that 10 years before, there would have been war. And that stayed with me in a way. You know, it's like, if we can all dream that other future, if we can all dream new earth, if we can all dream living with the whales, with the dolphins, with the reefs, with fish, with the oceans, with earth, connect with our garden, with you know, Mother Earth, with every leaf on every tree, and just see that sacredness and start living that and start dreaming even more, I think we can create that world. Because otherwise we're getting lost in, should I do now? I should, you know, like, I won't eat fish, or should I just, you know, I don't know, sign a petition to save the monkeys in Indonesia, or like, there's so much and we get overwhelmed. We don't know anymore what to do. And what I do is, like, whatever comes to me, I sign what I resonate with, but I don't lose, you know, don't go into focusing how bad that is and how terrible.
No.
Just sign, because that's an inspired action that will help. We have a lot of power through what we, you know, bring out as a people. And then just put it away, and then dream a new world, and then act accordingly, and act consciously for yourself.
Yeah, that's really important, isn't it? Our day-to-day actions.
Yes, I find it is, you know, like, what kind of food am I choosing to eat? Knowing all that I know, am I going to choose any food in the supermarket, or am I to go to a regenerative organic farmer? You know, or buy at least organic food in the supermarket, even though I know it's maybe not perfect, but at least, you know, go a little bit in that direction. Am I going to buy the cheapest clothes just so they're cheap if I can afford something else? Or am I going to see that it's maybe sustainably sourced, whatever? Like, am I going to buy a lot of garment that I know it's going to create microplastic in our water system, or not? How much do I really need? How much was just convenience? Like, all these, they're little things, and not let them overwhelm us, and just start wherever your heart guides you to, right? Not feel bad about something else, you know, like, I don't know, I came here by car. Yes. You know, it's like, we can't, you know, go crazy about every single decision we take.
No.
But what we need to do is, I find, is really important that we start living more consciously. Because we all know that, you know, it's all beautiful to be in that spiritual world, and it's all great, and we can all, you know, enjoy and love and light. But if we don't take conscious actions, I believe it's not enough, because it takes both. It takes the inspiration and it takes the action.
For me personally, I and this is just my personal thing, is I feel plastic is the biggest thing that needs to be addressed.
Yeah. And we can do a lot by not using plastic that we don't need to use, right? I don't know, in some countries, thanks God, plastic in the supermarkets are forbidden. You can't even get plastic bags anymore.
Yeah.
But in many, it's not, for instance. And just, it takes so nothing. And okay, sometimes you'll forget and you'll take a bag there and it's not going to be the end of the world. But what if 95% of the times we just take our bag with us when we go shopping, or have a bag in the car or in our bicycle or wherever we, wear our backpacks, just in case we go and buy something on the way home, we have something to put it in and we don't take another plastic bag. It doesn't take anything to do that, right?
No.
It's just so simple. And I feel really bad. For instance, right now, it's like the only way I have access to organic food that is not sprayed is I have to order it. And the way they send it is they pack everything in plastic bags. I'm like, I'm buying organic food and you guys are packing it into plastic bags.
Unless it's biodegradable, is it?
No, that it's not biodegradable plastic bags. They use just plain plastic bags. I'm like, and I talked to some of them. Some of them have changed a little bit, some of them haven't. So yeah, it's just, and I'm so funny sometimes, but I have to do this. Part of them I use, part of them I really put away. And even some of the trash I make here on the island, I take back to Switzerland when I go back. Why? Because now I'm going to go back because I need to leave my car. Actually, I'm not living there anymore. But anyway, I used to do that because I know here it's going to be landfill. And in Switzerland, at least it's going to be separate, like this we can use, this we can't, you don't throw everything on one trash. And at least they can burn some of it and they have filters in place and all of that. But that's me. I don't expect anybody to do that. But some of the trash I take back home. But it can be also small things, like I shared that the other day, walking on the beach and you see trash on the beach and just pick it up and throw it into the bin. It doesn't take much, right? And be careful not to make trash. And plastic is a huge thing. It does pollute the water because it breaks down to microplastic. And we know today, it ends in the food chain. It ends in the fish people eat. It really kills animals. Like some of the whales that have stranded, they opened their bellies and they found like CDs and stuff like that in their bellies. And so, yeah, that is part of what we can do. And the other thing we can do is really structure our water. Now, even though it might not have gone through that whole cycle of the moon and the sun and all of that, we can put it in the sun for a little while. We can bless our water. And they have also found out that when we bless our water, its physical structure changes.
Yes. Sorry to interrupt you. I've just got a comment from DJ.
Yeah.
I just want to tell you, she said, I told another group I talked to yesterday that I may have many good intentions. My goal today is to make a conscious effort to transform my intentions into actions.
Oh, beautiful. Yes. And I think it's also important to not beat ourselves up when we don't, and just to come back on track. Just go like, okay, so what can I do today? And just
what I want to do, and that's my intention.
Yes.
And let that be.
Yes.
Let that express itself as it wants to.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, it's great. And so, I find it so interesting that we are actually walking, talking water, because 95% of our molecules are water. If you go to the molecular count, we're 95% water.
Yeah.
We're 70% water, but molecular count, we're 95% water. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
And then, if you go into that blessing of the water, I find that's one of the easiest ways. So it's really important that we have pollution-free water. So also if we can install a little filter that filters out the chemicals like the fluoride and the chloride and all of the stuff that they put inside, and some other chemical compounds, and also the glyphosate. Like in the States, they have glyphosate in the rain. I don't know about here in Europe, but I know that they know that in the States, and probably it's here as well, because it's like the global cycle of the water. But just simply blessing our water, and you can just say like, I thank you, I bless you, I thank you, I bless you, I thank you, I bless you. That's enough. Just from your heart, and having both hands on your glass, that will help structure the water that you drink, and it will help bring that consciousness into your body and awaken your cells, you know, because it's how your DNA expresses, depends on how structured your water is and how stable that is, and it can bring through that connection and the cellular how do you say, like communication, right?
I got to tell you, DJ said, envision myself as walking, talking water. What a vision in my head.
Yes, we're walking, talking water. We are 95% is water. I mean, this is just mind-blowing. And also so beautiful. And you know why I said that, Jill, with the blessing the water, it's the easiest way to structure it. And for us now this is really about our personal health, like getting structured and high vibrational clean water into our cells is huge. They have research where they gave this coherent water that was treated over that year and all of that to people, and this is research that has been made from scientists. Within 20 minutes of drinking that water, left and right hemispheres would synchronize.
Wow.
Yeah. Within 20 minutes of drinking structured, highly structured, stable, coherent water, left and right side of the hemispheres would synchronize.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And they have another research that I've done through that. I need to check out the name. Wait a second. It's Rudolf Zantinge or something like Zantinge. If I'm pronouncing that right, I think he's from the Netherlands. And they have done, in his company that he works, they have done another research where they gave that water over 6 months to 20 healthy people, and their aging process drastically slowed down.
Wow. So
it does make a huge difference for our health, what we drink and what we eat, because in every, you know, you can hydrate. And there's many doctors who say today, like basically all disease comes from a lot of disease comes from dehydration, because when we don't have the structured clean water that we can immediately use, and that creates that communication in our cells, that's, you know, we have to imagine that's beyond time and space. Like that's not in linear time. There's a communication like in a neural network where it's like, okay, here's the electron that jumps and then it goes there. It's this immediate quantum communication. And so we need that, because that's what water does, and it helps our DNA express and everything. So the more we can get access to clean water, and that's our birthright, and to structured water, like it would be in nature in the old days, you know, when we would get that water that was really imbued with the minerals and with all the, you know, the frequencies of Mother Earth, and gone through all that cycles of the rain and then going into the rocks and coming back up into a well, and it's gone. That was time that it took. And then we would drink that water that had really, as you're saying, the story of everything within it. Yeah. And so I just want to encourage everybody to bless their water. That's the least we can do. There's also structuring devices. Some are better, some are more, but you can do that every day just before you drink it, and bless your water and thank it. Yeah. And that's beautiful. It's really a simple thing that we can do. And it's literally embodying that consciousness, because it's then in our body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when we used to go walking in the hills, and I'd want to drink the water out of the stream, But my father always used to say, if I was going to drink the water out of the stream, I should walk a mile downstream first, in case there were any dead animals further up.
Yes.
And he said by walking a mile down, the water would be pure, going all over the rocks.
Oh.
And if there was any impurities from, dead animals further up, within that mile, then those impurities would be gone.
Oh, that's interesting. Wow. At first when you started sharing, I thought like going upstream to the well, to the spring. But going downstream, yes, because it makes a lot of sense to me, because the water has its self-cleaning abilities. And Victor Schauberger was one that was studying water in the wild, and he would realize that it creates these vortices. That's why water that comes through our pipes is not the alive water that we have in nature. As soon as it goes through the pipes, it goes through straight lines, and it can't move in these vortices that it needs in order to be alive water, in order to be structured water. And so that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that. And then be sure that you watch well on that, on that walk down the river, that there's no other dead animals inside.
Well, that was the point. And I mean, where we were walking was up on the mountains. There are a lot of sheep. In Wales, we have a lot of sheep on the mountains. And, if a sheep had somehow died and then fallen into the stream, it would be decomposing in there then. As other animals could die in there as well, but you did sometimes see dead sheep. But the walking a mile down, you were checking all the way down that there was nothing in there. So once you'd walked the mile, you could drink the water. Amazing.
Wow. Yeah. So it's really, that water consciousness and ocean, because 95% are ocean. And also in the ocean, we have that additional, first of all, very structured on the surface, because there's always light shining. Like when you have the sun shining on it, right? It will structure it. And I'll share next time more about that. But it's so fascinating for me to see this connection, between what I was getting and the scientific research, and then making that all into one coherent, inner knowing and expression is so beautiful. I was just wondering, like, I'm just constantly, my eyes are being pulled over here. I have my cards here, and there's like this card, like whale and orca elders, like sing your song, frequency of sound, diving deep. And that's a card I'll show you. It's so beautiful. And the Seas of Mintaka, which is it's just my go-to card. That's why, it's like these two are so beautiful. And my eyes are constantly going there. So I think there's kind of a message that wants to come through that. So let's see what wants to be shared. Give me a moment. Yeah, so they're saying that there's going to be a lot more discoveries about ocean, water, consciousness, and how that all fits together, and how it serves us in the months to come and years to come, as humanity is awakening to more of who we truly are. And actually, I would like to share a message that the whales have been sharing with me a lot And whenever I tune into, you know, like there's different whales and they have different, we can share that in other episodes. They have kind of different roles. But in general, the whales are inviting us to open our hearts, and also to, in that, what the message that comes through really often is to release judgment. And when that came through in the beginning, I thought like, yeah, well, of course, releasing judgment, you know, it's kind of, yeah, okay, release judgment. And then it went into more detail, like how much are you judging like small things, like we were talking about right now, when somebody leaves trash on the beach or whatever that is. Like how often do you judge somebody because they just, I don't know, walk along the street in a very, very peculiar dress or whatever that is, right? Or what they say or how they look or what they eat or what they don't eat. And then it started percolating more into, oh, wait a second. They're also inviting us into releasing self-judgment. Because I don't know who said that. It was like years ago. And I heard that sentence and it stayed with me ever since. I release judgment upon myself as I release judgment upon everybody else. And showing that these are actually one, because we've been so conditioned into that judgment through our upbringing, no matter how loving parents we had, but there was school, there were parents, there were, you know, different people in our lives, and this is right and this is wrong, and you should do this better, or you haven't done enough. And I'm a mother myself, and I know exactly that I'm doing that same mistakes at times, and still doing my best not to do them, and it happens. And so there's that part of the whales who are really inviting us to, I don't know why this message comes in now. it's interesting. Now you helped me make that one, because it just came in now as another message. Like they were talking about the self-judgment, and I was bringing that through because they were bringing that through many times for me. And now they said, like, because they told me also to bring the people together where the ocean meets the land. And how does that relate to self-judgment? Could you help me here? Okay, so they're showing me this field of love. And like one is, okay, so because I was teaching about self-love, and I'm going to share about that in a moment. But they're saying also that as we can come together in that new expression of absolute connection and joy and love and celebration of the beauty of life, we're creating a field where judgment has no space anymore. And that is the power of community, of group. And it's really powerful. Like that, the way they're showing me right now is that even if we're struggling with our own judgment, as we come together as community and we create that new field of that consciousness of the unity, of the connection of who we are, and that pure love for each other, there is no space for self-judgment anymore. Because it's like they're showing me it's like like the frequency shift, like when we're talking about the water and the water in our cells receiving that information. And even if you have received information over years, when you change that frequency, it can really be embodied. And one way that's helpful, as they're sharing right now, is the community coming together in absolute like connection and love and joy. Just like here, Jill, on your group.
Thank you. And DJ's just added, interesting connection in the portion of the Christian Lord's Prayer, forgive us as we forgive others.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for adding that, DJ.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Wow, so beautiful. And so I think like maybe for today.
Yes, it feels like the perfect.
It's a beautiful kind of closing, and
Yes.
for those who would love to dive deeper into that self-love and create that community. And I really didn't, it sounds like, okay, you plan to say that, so you can add that, but I didn't, I literally didn't. It came in, that thing with the beach, and I'm like, why do you bring that in now? But it really is. I'm offering a free masterclass in ocean light language transmission, really for self-love. And I'm not talking about self-care, I'm talking about, you know, that deep self-love that we have for ourselves, where we know who we are, where we're in truth, where we're in self-worth, where we don't have that judgment of what we thought or did or didn't do and all of these things. And we can really release that and step into that pure expression of who we are. I'm doing a free masterclass in ocean light transmission on Monday, May 8th, and you're all invited. I will put the link underneath
put
the
the
video,
link in the comments,
so you can check it out and come together as community, as we learned right now, and create that field, so we can even.
And what time is it as well?
It is at 7:30 UK time,
right,
which is 11:30 a.m. Pacific time, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, 7:30 p.m.
Oh, you're good, aren't you?
And 8:30 Central European time. You know, I wrote that so many times, I know it by heart.
Can I just say, DJ's written, I definitely know that music, sound is an imprinted thing on us. How do I know this? I was adopted in early childhood. All through my childhood and early adulthood, there was a tune that I hummed and couldn't identify. As an adult, after I'd identified and met my biological parents, my father told me that his mother and my grandmother had held and rocked me once, and whenever she rocked a child, she would hum that tune.
Wow.
In her head to the babies. So it had imprinted, hadn't it, from the time she was a baby.
Yes. Yes, we have so much memory that we, you know, sometimes we can have just so beautiful. And, you know, like somebody else asked, I think in your group as well, right, about the hymn that her grandmother sang to her. Wasn't it Renate who asked you about that?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, where she was looking for the words.
Yeah.
And I think it's something
she did find it, and she did share something, but I don't know whether it's a shareable to everyone. So
no, but it's just,
believe it or not, right now Renata can't see anything in the group.
Oh.
And another group also. So
Oh.
Yeah, she can't see anything I'm posting or anything. So
no. I hope she will be able to see soon.
Yes, yeah. So,
and you know, yeah, sorry,
Facebook does weird stuff sometimes.
Oh yes.
We know that.
You know that. And you know about the imprint, yes. We, you know, like you can think about it like that. First was you know, like first was a word, but first was sound. And sound is an expression, like light and sound are waveforms. And the first atom that was formed in the universe was water. And so water is so connected to sound, like to any kind of frequency. And I do believe that we do, you know, however you call it, but I do believe that our cell memory is actually the memory that our water carries in our cells. You know?
Wow.
It's the water, you know, you have the work of Masaru Emoto, right? You have the work of all these scientists, everything that I shared. So if water can take information, give information, we actually carry everything we know within, which we know that we do. But now we have kind of never thought about this might be the water that gets imprinted with that information, right?
You know, that's a beautiful place to leave everybody to.
Yes. Yes.
And we will say goodbye and then reschedule for a part 2.
Yay!
And thank you for
everyone.
all you added, DJ, and anybody who was here that Facebook didn't show me. I'm very sorry. And thank you everybody who watches the replay.
Yes, thank you. And ask your questions if you want in the replay as well, or put your comments. We will be there and answer if there's anything. And also, yeah, if you want to know something else related to that, so I can we can take that in for next time, right?
Lovely.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to stop the live stream now. So thank you. And we're going to say goodbye for now.
Bye-bye.